All right guys, everybody wants to know how to get that great weight shift from the top, start the downswing perfectly so you can compress the golf ball and everything just feels a lot easier. When you're out of sync, you feel like you're all discombobulated, the hands and arms and waist, everything's moving differently, then we really struggle. So in this video, I'm gonna really walk you through it. We're gonna talk about the up and down motion of the golf swing and how you shift your weight up and down throughout the swing. We're gonna talk about the weight shift left and right, and then we're also gonna talk about the rotation and all of this, kind of how you're starting the downswing properly when you're doing that. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of detail. I'm really gonna break it down piece by piece in the beginning, but don't be overwhelmed. If it starts to seem a little bit too complicated or a little bit too in-depth, don't worry. At the end, I'm gonna tie all that together, give you one great simple drill to do to get that great transition and start of the downswing coming all the way into the finish. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, the first thing we'll talk about here is the up and down motion. So if we just isolate everything else and look at just how our body moves up and down throughout the swing, it's very important. So at address, as I'm kind of setting up here, if I get rid of the golf club, I'm just kind of athletic stance. I got a little bit of knee bend, my chest is slightly down. I'm kind of like I'm almost playing shortstop, not quite as low as I would be, but just a little bit like that, or just kind of a relaxed defensive position in basketball. Now, as I swing to the top of the swing, what actually happens here, as I continue my backswing, I'm gonna load up a little bit more into the ground. And that's almost like you're gonna be jumping. So as I'm loading up, I'm almost kind of preparing to drive upward and jump, which will be the end part of the swing. But just realize, pretty much all PGA Tour golfers, all pro golfers are at least staying level or dropping down a little bit. You don't really see guys that raise up in the backswing. So if we watch that, this is kind of this motion where my head drops a little bit. Here's my address, here's the top of the backswing. Now this is what's important. After we get loaded up at the top of the backswing, as we start to rotate through and rotate into the finish, what's actually happening, if you watch those tour players again, as they get to that nice finish, you'll notice how their chest to their lower body, all that is flat. If you looked at their shirt buttons, it's actually gonna be facing a little bit up toward the sky here, and they're in this nice extended position, really, really balanced over the lead foot. Well, if I took out all the rotation, I took out all the weight shift, and I just looked at that, here's address, here's the top of my backswing, and then my finish would be like this. My chest is extended. And that's really important in the golf swing because I have to get this club to whip through contact. I have to get this club to turn back up so that I can really accelerate on through there and into the finish. So let's break that down. What am I doing in the transition? Well, number one, as I'm going into the backswing, I'm actually dropping down a little bit. As I start my downswing, I'm kind of staying down. So that's the key. I don't want to start popping up into that position right away. I want to stay down in my transition, and I'm only extending as I'm coming through the ball and toward the target. I don't extend toward the ball, I extend toward the target as I'm coming on through. So that's piece number one. As you're starting that downswing, stay down, wait until you're coming through the ball to start extending back up. Piece number two is going to be my right to left transition. So if we're looking at the address here, my weight's about 50-50. You could favor the right side a little bit if you want to. Most players aren't all the way over on their left at address, but this is the least important piece. What's really important is what you do from there. As I start my backswing, my weight's going to shift to the inside of my right foot. So you can kind of imagine the pressure on the inside of your foot. It's going to favor the right ankle as you get more halfway back into the swing. So as I start to make my weight shift, as my left arm is about halfway back, that's about the max your weight's going to shift to the right. As you continue the backswing, this is the real key here if you want to have that good transition. As I continue the backswing and start my downswing, my weight is already well on its way forward in the swing. So if I have a little step here, we can imagine I'm going to step. As I start to continue my backswing, I'm going to step forward. So see how as I'm making my backswing continue, I'm finishing off my backswing and starting my downswing, my weight shift is already starting to the front. So if you watch this drill, we'll do a slow motion video here. Watch when my foot starts to step forward. And pull my feet together. You notice my front foot starts to step as my arms and hands are still going back. That's crucial for a good start to the downswing. If I'm at the top of my swing and I'm waiting till I start down to start to shift my weight to the left, it's way too late. You're going to end up throwing your arms at it. You're going to end up being very late. You're going to end up flipping the shot. So that's the key there. I have to start my transition to the left in the back half of my backswing, and as I start my downswing, my weight is already shifting over that direction. It's very important though, don't start to slide way in front. I don't want to get way out here in front of the golf ball. Again, I'm gonna have to kind of stand up and flip to reach that ball. It's just a small weight shift. My body's angled back, and then I can push into my left leg and rotate on through. As I get to that good tall finish position again, my weight's balanced on my left side. Notice how I don't have any weight on my right foot. Maybe 10% of my weight's on my right foot, but everything's just kind of stacked over my left side, nice and balanced. High chest again. That's that great weight shift. So when we put these two together, or when we put that, simplify that, weight shift starts in the last half of the downswing. As you start the downswing, weight shift starts in the last half of the backswing. As you start the downswing, your weight should already be going to the left. That's a real critical move. And to try that out, make sure you go ahead and do that step drill and time that up. Now, last piece here is rotation. If you can imagine, if I'm gonna jump up and twist my body, so if I'm gonna jump and turn this way, what's actually happening there, I'm gonna get a little bit sciencey here, but it doesn't, we're gonna make it way simpler in the end. If I wanna turn this way, my foot has to push that way, or my right foot has to turn that way, my left foot has to push that way. Imagine you're taking your fingers on a bottle cap and you're trying to twist them to the right or to the left. That's the direction as it happens. So as I push this way with my foot, so as this foot pushes that way, that foot pushes that way, that's gonna be me turning this way. An easier way to think about this is just go ahead and set up and actually twist your feet to the right. That's the backswing. As I start my downswing, I'm gonna load up. Notice how if I wanna twist the other way, I can rotate my hips, and then I'm gonna twist to the left. That's all that's happening. So in the golf swing, I'm pushing with my feet, letting my right leg straighten a little bit. My hips are now turning. That's gonna allow me to get that good full shoulder turn as I go to the top. As I start my transition, remember at this point, as I start my downswing, my weight's already shifting to the left. Now my weight's in my left foot. I'm gonna push out that direction and let my hips clear out of the way. So let's just simplify that a bit, not to get too far off track with the feet pushing into the ground. What do I need to feel with this? Well, in the backswing, I need to feel like my hips are really rotating early. I wanna get my hips going off the ball. I wanna go ahead and get that rotation happening so that when I get to the start of the downswing, my weight shift is already going to the left and my hips are already opening up a little bit. A great way to know if you're doing this correctly, if you watch your swing, as you come to impact, your right foot should be barely coming off the ground a little bit. If my right heel is still on the ground at impact and a little past impact, now I know that I don't have the rotation that I need in my swing. I need to go ahead and let that foot come up. I'm pushing with this left foot, letting that right heel come up, and now I can get that rotation. Again, as I come all the way on through, now my right shoulder is going to feel like it's facing down the target. My chest is nice and high to the left. My belt buckle on my pants is facing straight ahead to my target in the distance there. So I know that's a lot of detail. We're going into probably too much detail there, but I thought I'd just go through and answer some questions. Now let's simplify. What do I do in the transition? To break those pieces down, let's go ahead and do 10 swings here. Number one, as I start my downswing, my weight is staying down. I'm holding that until I come through the shot, and then I'm gonna extend. That's the up and down piece. Number two is my weight shift going to the left. As I start my downswing, my weight shift should already be moving to the left. My left foot should feel like it has some pressure in it. Then I can start my downswing and come on through. As I do my rotation should already be going to the left as I start my downswing, and then I'm gonna be able to rotate on through to a good full finish. Great way to check this, even simpler than that. At the top of the swing, you should be rotated, good full shoulder turn, everything is staying down. As you finish, everything is nice and high, weight balance on the left leg, right toe straight up and down, and now you got a great feeling of what the transition should be like. One last drill to take this and make it easy. Let's do that step drill a good 20 or 30 times. Put our feet together, step forward as you're going back, and then come to that good full finish. I've found that if you can do this step drill and have that nice and synced up and your finish looks really good, everything else just kind of falls into balance. As long as you turn on your backswing and you do that step drill right, you really don't have to worry too much about the transition. It's just gonna happen all on its own. All right guys, so try out those reps, do the elevation up and down, do the rotation, and then do the weight shift. Do about 20 or 30 reps of each one of those. Then let's take it to the next notch. I want you to do the step drill. Go ahead and complete that. Make sure you get that good high finish. And then lastly, you're gonna do that for about 20 or 30 reps. Just in your living room is completely fine. And then lastly, we wanna check our rotation. Make sure we really rotate in the backswing, rotate in the follow through like we talk about in the power turn. And then now go ahead, get started in that power turn section. I think that's a really big one. We gotta rotate back, we gotta rotate through. If we don't get that rotation, we get kind of a short rotation, short power turn on the backswing, we end up just kind of casting from the top. Our weight shift just goes all out the window and we really struggle. All right, now very important, there's more to this. I talked a little bit about getting that power turn, getting that good full rotation. If we cut off our turn and we make a short backswing, now all of a sudden we're gonna wanna lunge from the top. We're gonna wanna stand up early. We're not gonna get the rotation coming through there, and it just kind of throws everything out of whack. So the power turn is really critical for this. I've got a bonus video that's gonna walk you through the power turn. I'm gonna play a preview of that here in a second. Just go ahead and click the card up on your screen or the description down below, the link in the description, and you're gonna get instant access to that video. Let's go ahead and start turning more, get your transition even better, get you a lot more power. Let's go ahead and get started. Technique, we can all hit it with really good distance without a lot of muscular effort. And it all starts out, the very first thing you have to do is get a good powerful turn to load up the body. And it's not only in golf, but in all sports we have to rotate the body. At least 90 degrees with the shoulders as you swing to the top. Preferably, we can go even a little bit past 90 to really get loaded up. That's gonna allow us to have a lot of power. So we don't just have to look at golf for this. Let's actually look at other sports. They're rotating their body, then they're coming forward. So we have to get that load. We have to get this big shoulder turn to be able to create power in the golf swing. So in this series of videos, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. That's one of the first keys to getting power, and we're all gonna get at least a 90-degree turn, if not more than that. I think you'll be surprised at what you can do. So let's go ahead and get started with the next series of videos, and I'm gonna show you how to get this big, powerful turn. All right, guys, so before we go, let's take a look at this in action with some of the top pros. Now here we're looking at Adam Scott, and you're gonna see as he rotates to the top, good full shoulder turn. This is pretty typical of what I see with the top pros, a little past 90. Those guys are working on their flexibility, so sometimes they can get to 100 or even 110 degrees.